今次去咗邊？喺個銀礦度。
Welcome to the silver mines of Lavrion. The mines make me nervous. All those fumes can't be safe to inhale day in and day out.
竟然係個感想，竟然係咁。
The Lavrion silver mines were discovered between Thorikos and Cape Sunion, near Athens. They were rich in the mineral galena and provided Athens with much of the silver necessary to mint its currency. Because of this, the mines were invaluable to the city, and the resources they provided helped turn Athens into one of the most powerful states in Greece. We will meet again after you've seen what the mines have to offer. Farewell for now, wanderer.
都係奴隸掘㗎啦，都唔係 citizen 掘㗎啦。
Silver mines were extremely rare in ancient Greece, which only increased their importance. Athens started exploiting the Lavrian silver mines at the end of the 6th century BCE and used its metal to produce its currency. Production at the mines exploded around 485 BCE when an especially rich vein was discovered. The mine's abundant silver made Athens one of the wealthiest cities in Greece. They also provided the resources necessary to build a fleet large enough to defeat the Persians at the Battle of Salamis. In short, the Lavrian mines played an integral part in the emergence of Athens as a Greek superpower.
即係唔係因為打贏波，唔係因為打贏波起前爭，令到雅典成為呢個。成為呢個希臘最統治全個希臘嘅城邦嘅，但係就反而係因為呢個隨機因素。都係睇地面嘅啫。如果而家去旅行，其實真係冇，真係乜都冇。
Exploiting the mine's resources required a lot of labor. To meet this requirement and save on cost, Athens leased out mining concessions to its citizens, who had their slaves to do most of the work, alongside poor day laborers. In the 5th century BCE alone, there were anywhere from 10,000 to 30,000 people toiling in the mines of Lavrion. Together, the workers managed to produce an estimated 20 tons of silver per year.
厲害啊，靠人力。而且雅典好似得10幾萬人啫，其實我之前講過。 我到而家都唔知點理解呢個貨幣系統係點慢慢產生出嚟。冇位俾我企。
Mining in Lavrion was a two-step process. First, the ore was extracted, and then it was refined. It took about 16 kilograms of raw ore to produce a single pure silver drachma of about 4 grams. Recovered artifacts from the mines provide some insight into the specifics of the mining process. Galleries were dug to follow the veins of ore. They were small and did not offer much space for the workers. They were also hand-cut, and it's believed that it took whole days to dig only a few centimeters. Once the galleries finally reached the veins, the ore was extracted and then crushed on mortar stone to prepare it for washing.
即係應該係得幾個人咁闊嘅啫，冇可能咁大嘅，冇可能好似呢度咁。5-7力。OK。量化寬鬆啊！過咗幾廿年。同經濟學都好有關係。冇位俾我可以作下。算。呢度係加工㗎啦，掘完之後。
Mine workers used washeries to help clean rock from the ore. The washing process required a large supply of water, but Lavrion was an infamously dry region. To compensate, cisterns were built in the mining area to collect and conserve seasonal rainwater. Once enough water had accumulated, workers poured it into wooden troughs containing rock and ore. The water's flow separated the lighter grains of rock from the heavier ore, which was caught in depressions at the bottom of the trough. The newly cleaned ore was collected for refinement, and the water was redirected back into a tank to be reused later.
應該清唔到好多嘅，清走啲石粉嘅啫，清走啲泥同埋石粉嘅啫。我諗都係睇一個正式嘅採礦紀錄片，有用過玩呢隻遊戲。佢喺度做乜？
Once the ore was clean and dry, it was ready for smelting. Its purpose was to isolate the silver in the ore. To do this, the ore was placed in a conical furnace filled with combustible charcoal. Bellows pumped air into the furnace to control the temperature. Inside, the ore burned, emitting a toxic smoke that was evacuated through a chimney. Eventually, the silver alloy was separated from the slag and collected for the last step in the refinement process, cupellation. Cupellation removed any leftover lead from the silver. The smelted alloy was placed in a cupel, an absorbent bowl made of bone ashes. It was then put in a furnace, where it absorbed the lead and left only silver behind.
即係點啊？啲骨係會吸收咗啲鉛。個大細完全唔同嘅，佢哋嗰班考古學家。
While the mines of Lavrion belonged to Athens, the city frequently leased them to private citizens who exploited the site for anywhere from 3 to 10 years. These citizens enlisted slaves and poor day laborers to carry out most of the work. The workers had a very low life expectancy, about 3 to 5 years, due to the hazardous working conditions. The dangers they faced included toxic lead vapor in the air and lung-choking dust in the galleries. However, they were fed well enough to keep up their work, and their combined labor managed to produce an estimated 20 tons of silver a year.
冇計啦，古代都唔知啲嘢危唔危險。不過佢哋見到啲人成日死都知係有問題嘅，採礦。 色雷斯，即係就算啲好有本領嘅人都會淪落到做奴隸嘅，可能只係因為佢所在嗰個城市打輸仗。
I hope you enjoyed your trip through the mines. We talk so much of Athens' glory, but we often forget the city's power was due to tremendous amounts of work. Work that often had a great human cost. What else would you like to do? Excellent. Let's begin. What was the last step in the silver refinement process? Yes, cupellation removed any remaining lead, leaving only the silver behind. Now, for the second question. How did workers acquire water for the ore washing process? Correct. The workers used cisterns to collect the seasonal rainwater. Now, the final question. Which famous battle did the mines help Athens win? Correct. The Athenians used silver from the mines to finance a massive fleet for the Battle of Salamis. It's clear your visit has taught you much. A job well done, Wanderer. Of course. Please follow me.
其實都係一個 incentive 嚟嘅啫嚇，啲人令到啲人幫佢做嘢，人本身係冇作用。走返嚟斯巴達。
Welcome to Laconia, visitor. You're here to learn about Spartan society, yes? Then I won't stop you. Sparta is a glorious place, and you should feel honored to be here. Honored, and perhaps somewhat frightened. Sparta had a unique hierarchy, especially compared to the rest of Greece. Everyone had their place, and you will soon learn what those places were. I will find you again once your visit has ended. Until then, visitor.
Spartan society was structured around austerity, self-sufficiency, and a hostility towards foreign elements. It was divided into three social classes: citizens, perioikoi, and helots. Citizens were called Spartans, or homoioi. They were free men and women with mostly equal rights and wealth, though their contributions to political life were extremely limited. The perioikoi lived in surrounding areas under Spartan control. They cultivated the land and were primarily merchants and craftsmen. They were also part of the army, and their lands were the first line of defense in the event of a hostile attack. Helots were Sparta's lowest class. They were people who had lost their freedom to the Spartans, and they served the city as slaves. Helots were considered property instead of people. As a result, they had no political or civil rights.
可能都係侵蝕到咁嘅樣嘅，原本可能個細節比較豐富。哇！咁多字係唔會記得晒㗎啦。
Helots made up the majority of Sparta's population. According to Polydeuces, they lingered between slavery and freedom. Two elements made Helots differ from other slaves. They were allowed to form their own families, and they were publicly owned by the city of Sparta instead of private citizens. Because Helots were deemed public property, they could not be sold as merchandise. They mostly worked to cultivate the land, but also fought in wars alongside the Spartans. While they gave the fruits of their labor to Sparta, they also kept a fair part of it for themselves. This practice allowed some Helots to make enough money to buy their own freedom. Alternatively, if a Helot served the state well enough in military campaigns, they could also be granted civil rights.
呢個唔係嗰個時代。1:3:7。OK， 20幾萬人，30萬人左右，成個城邦。Okay.
The founding of Sparta is dated around the 9th century BCE. Historical information about the city is limited, but it was known to extend into the region of Laconia. Over time, Sparta started encroaching on the territory of Messenia, eventually leading to war. Sparta gained more land in this conflict, which they divided between their citizens and the Perioikoi. The aftermath of the Second Messenian War, from 640 to 620 BCE, then divided the population into three groups: the Homoioi, the Perioikoi, and the Helots. The Helots of Laconia mostly respected Sparta's rule and did not cause much trouble. However, Helots from Messenia supposedly resisted the Spartans, although sources can only confirm one revolt for certain, which occurred in Messenia in 464 BCE.
去到文藝復興之後，真係經常畫翻古希臘嘅事件。但係啲人其實係太似，唔係太似古希臘人嘅。全部人都冇鬚係比較奇怪。披住獸皮呢個人應該都係啲野蠻人嚟㗎啦。我唔係幾睇得明幅畫。死咗差唔多10% 人一場地震。呢個革命已經持續咗2年。
During the 5th century BCE, helots were quite active in the army, especially during the Peloponnesian War. They served as hoplites on land and as rowers during naval battles. In both cases, they gave Sparta an important numerical advantage. For every Spartan on the battlefield, there were at least 7 helots. Although many ancient sources say Spartans had a hostile relationship with helots, they were much more likely to treat them better in times of war. For example, when 300 helots and 120 elite Spartans were captured by Athens during the Battle of Sphacteria in 425 BCE, the Spartans promised the helots their freedom if they served them well in combat. Similarly, around the same time, the Spartan general Brasidas fought a battle alongside 700 helots. Impressed by their courage and loyalty, Brasidas later freed them all and allowed them to join the Perioikoi.
火柴人都係藝術嘅一部分。 巴斯特竟然喺度。
Perioikoi were another group of Sparta's population. They lived not in the city itself, but in its surrounding areas. The Perioikoi were never hostile against the Spartans. In fact, both groups together were known by the collective name Lacedaemonians. Perioikic cities had their own autonomy and sanctuaries, but they were always bound to Sparta. They were allowed to develop their own local laws and economies, but could never reach a level of prosperity that rivaled their parent state.
都係侵蝕得太犀利，原本應該清楚啲嘅可以睇到。係咪重用啊？呢幅圖好似見過呢個背景。
I see you finished. I hope you have a better appreciation for Spartan society. Nothing we do is without reason, and every man, woman, and child has a role to play. What would you like to do? Is that so? Then let us begin. During which battle were Elots promised their freedom? Yes, in the Battle of Stacteria, a group of elite Spartans promised to free their accompanying Elots if they helped the Spartans during a siege. Next question. Which of the following is another name for Spartan citizens? Spartan citizens were also called Omi, which meant equals. One final question. Which Spartan general freed 700 Elots?
佢哋啲發音完全唔同嘅，同一個字。
Correct. Brasidas freed 700 Elots as a reward for their exemplary military service. You passed. I'm impressed. Of course. Follow me.
會唔會又係 Sparta 咧？啲馬有咩分別到底？如果會飛就好啦，呢隻嘢。
Ανυπόφορον εστιν ορά. Ποιος ο υπέτειος? Ασχολίας δελτίου.
Εσχρότατος τη διανία ή.
Ιού, πάψε. Πάψε.
Ίσον αρκαθεύω. Αληθώς τούτο συνέβη.
Greetings, visitor. You stand in Sparta's political center, where all of the city's most important decisions were made. You should feel honored. Spartans may be unequaled on the battlefield, but some situations are better solved by a meeting of minds than a clash of swords. Not many, mind you, but some. Sparta's political system was unique in the Greek world. While Athenians wasted hours on end whining and wagging their tongues at each other, Spartan kings made their decisions swiftly and deliberately. They preferred action over words. Come find me again when you finish your visit. We will speak more then. Farewell.
Της φαντασίας πλέον.
Sparta's political system differed from most of Greece's. One of its most distinctive features was that it was ruled by two kings. These kings belonged to two separate dynasties, the Eurypontids and the Aegeads, both of which were said to be descended from Heracles. Both kings shared equal powers, and disputes between them required the intervention of special magistrates known as ephors. However, if one of the kings were more charismatic or experienced, they could influence the weaker king's choices.
任何地方都有想獨裁嘅人。
Spartan kings had several responsibilities and functions. As lifetime magistrates, they were technically Sparta's priests and strategists, and their duties encompassed everything from politics to justice. Originally, both kings would lead military campaigns in times of war. However, from 507 BCE onwards, only one of the two kings could be head of the army. On the battlefield, kings were accompanied by 300 elite soldiers for protection. But being a king wasn't only about working and fighting. They enjoyed special privileges as well. Spartan kings lived at the expense of the city, owned royal estates in the surrounding Perioikic cities, and received the majority of the spoils of war. When they passed away, they were buried with special honors, and the population mourned them for a period of 10 days.
And done.見係咁。通常啲接近獨裁體系嘅地方都係個獨裁者就要打仗。咁都歷史上都有啲例子係啲市民想打仗，通常都唔係啦。不過通常市民係冇任何嘢可以得到，喺戰爭入面。 服肯定係重用啊！我絕對記得見過呢張嘢，見過呢張相。係咪細集㗎？全部都係庫存紙嘅，有冇搞錯？的確佢係傾嘅，佢唔係話 leader 之類嘅嘢，咁傾係可以傾係細集嘅，應該係。我覺得啲隨機事件嘅影響反而比啲人本身嘅意願更加大啊！雅典就係發現咗人礦，斯巴達就係有地震。點解要不停鑄幣咧？個市場上流通啲貨幣唔夠用。的確，貨幣嘅總值係要同嗰啲貨物嘅總值相關先得嘅，因為日日夜夜都有新嘅貨物被生產出嚟，有啲貨物係會食咗噶嘛，即係食物啊、飲品嗰類嘢，即係啲可以長期保留嘅貨物，或者就係個價值會保留落嚟嘅，但係食咗嘢就會係消失咗噶嘛。咁的確都有折舊率嘅嚇，舊嘅貨應該就會因為每年生產嘅嘢好多，咁所以就要鑄好多幣。好遠喎，今次條路。
The kings of Sparta enjoyed many important religious honors. They were in charge of sacrifices, both during military campaigns and at home. The kings received double portions of the meat at all communal meals, and they were also the first to pour libations. They also personally conducted public sacrifices as priests, which helped remind their subjects of their divine connection to Heracles and Zeus.
古代啲人畫隻眼係喺側面睇同正面睇係一樣，有啲怪。不過當時嘅畫畫比較接近符號性質嘅，其實應該雕像先係正式嘅藝術品。
Άδικον εστί. Αλυπόφορον εστιν ώρα. Ποιος ο υπέτειος? αληθώς τούτο συνέβη?
Μάτσι συλλέγω. Σπόρο!
Της φαντασίας πλέον.
Οχληρών εστί.
煮緊麵啊！
Αδύνατον εστί.
The ephors, or overseers, were 5 magistrates elected by the Spartan assembly. They were chosen from amongst Spartan citizens over 30 and served for 1 year with no possibility of re-election. The ephors played a large part in administrating the city and were considered the most democratic agents in the Spartan political system. They had judicial power and ordered the dispatching of the Spartan army during wars. They also met and negotiated with representatives from other states, in addition to running the agoge, the Spartan education system. While not as powerful as the 2 kings, the ephors still held great sway over Sparta's affairs.
只可以做1年嘅啫，都有啲民主成分嘅喺個斯巴達嘅體系入面。等等。 OK。
The Gerusia was the Spartan Council of Elders. It was made up of the 2 current kings, as well as 28 elders called Gerontes. They were Spartan citizens over the age of 60, the cutoff age for military duty. They were elected for life by the Spartan Assembly. The Gerusia, similar to Athens' Boulé, handled legislative and financial matters. It could submit bills and motions to the Assembly, and could also cancel Assembly decisions with the power of veto. To ensure that the right of veto did not weaken the Assembly, Ephors were introduced to keep the Gerusia in check and maintain a steady balance of power. This allowed Sparta to include more just elements in its political system. The Spartan Assembly, or the Appella, was made up of Spartan citizens who were over 30 years old. Its exact meeting place remains unknown, but it was presided over by a special member of the Ephors called the eponymous Ephor. The Appella had limited authority, since any decision it made could be overruled by the Gerusia. But thanks to the efforts of the Ephors, it still played an important role in Spartan society. The Appella dealt with topics like foreign affairs, war declarations, peace negotiations, and more. They also elected Ephors and Gerusia members, and could both grant political rights to foreigners and remove them from Spartan citizens. Unlike the myriad sources on the functions of the Athenian Assembly, the exact details of the Appella's decision-making process are unknown.
點解一個好好地存？點解一個寫出嚟嘅人要俾人懷疑係唔存在嘅人？可能就係因為呢個原因啊，因為斷得好奇怪。點解咁出名嘅人就唔應該突然中斷嘅嗰啲記載？個膚色係綠色咁奇怪，係咪變咗色啦？經過2000幾年。即係連啲軍備都係靠佢哋鑄造，咁都幾危險。但係因為斯巴達本身嘅市民嘅人數實在太少啦，得萬幾2萬人，唔靠其他人幫手做下嘢，冇乜可能。呢啲係咪遲啲去順路？呢堆我都唔知點去。有冇船搭嘅咧？其實我肯定冇自己隻船嘅，而家係
I see you finished. I hope you feel more knowledgeable about the inner workings of Spartan politics. Our way of ruling was not conventional, to say the least. But it served our purposes well. What would you like to do? Are you? We shall see. Let's begin. What was the name of the Spartan Assembly? Correct. The Spartan Assembly was known as the Appella. Question 2. How many members did the Erosia have?
有講過咩？
Yes, the Erosia consisted of 28 Yerondas and the 2 kings of Sparta. Last question. What was the name of the Spartan education program? Correct. Our rigorous education program was called the Agogi, and it was overseen by the Air Force. You've done well, Visitor. Very well. As you wish. Come with me.
170人撐一隻船，3、4班中學嘅班級。呢個係咩地方？而家係講翻政治嘅主要。講完斯巴達就講雅典，即係一齊比較下5個站。
Welcome, wanderer, to the democratic center of Athens, otherwise known as the Pnyx. The battles fought here may be more intellectual than bloody, but they are no less spectacular. These outcomes will affect an entire city in a different way. The Pnyx was the meeting place of the Athenian assembly and the physical embodiment of democracy at work. This tour will give you insight into how citizens made decisions and kept the city running. We can talk more when you have finished the tour. See you soon, wanderer.
到底呢個實際大細係幾大啊？呢度企唔到1000人以上就算人逼人都企唔到1000人啊！冇理由揾一個咁細嘅地方做全民集會嘅，成個雅典成10幾萬人。
The Athenian assembly was known as the Ecclesia. It met at the Pnyx 40 times a year to discuss various civic matters, and each session usually lasted a few hours. The word Pnyx is believed to mean something close to packed together. This was probably a reference to the fact that during meetings of the Ecclesia, the location would be filled to its capacity, with citizens packed in practically shoulder to shoulder. All male citizens were allowed to directly participate in the democratic process. Those over 20 years old had the right to speak and vote, while those over 30 could be elected to the higher position of magistrate. In total, there were approximately 30,000 citizens in Athens in the classical period. To draft and adopt decrees, 6,000 of them had to attend the meeting.
6000人，即係差不多1星期開一次會咁滯，仲要開幾個鐘，都幾忙碌嘅喎，開呢個會。所以之後就發展出代議民主制啦嚇，唔使每人都花將係咯，實在太多人力啦呢個。雖然都唔係全城嘅人，都係嗰6000人。咁嗰6000人係比較少其他工作做嘅，因為係地位比較高嘅人咯 ，citizen。我諗實際個場，我諗現實中嘅場地可能比較大少少啊，6000人我唔覺得企到。 應該唔會有呢啲雕像喺度阻礙視線㗎。
Citizens came from all over Attica's 10 districts to attend the meetings of the Ecclesia. The meeting was presided over by an executive council called the Prytanes. Every session began with a sacrifice to Zeus Agoreos, the patron of the assembly. During the meeting, citizens delivered speeches from the Pnyx's platform on whatever issues the city faced. Afterwards, the issue was voted on with a show of hands from the gathered assembly. The Ecclesia made important decisions about subjects like grain importation, expenses, and declarations of war. While they could not directly enact laws, they had a say in appointing Athens' legislators, which gave them a large role in shaping the city's daily operations.
係有現實中嘅有樣嘅。係咪應該比遊戲入面大少少咧？而且呢啲係石嚟嘅，冇乜可能咁大嚿石㗎，應該砌成㗎嘛。又或者呢度原本係座岩山嚟嘅，咁喺個岩山上面作個台個形狀出嚟，咁就好難修補㗎啦。之後啊，好現代喎，佢哋講啲嘢。點解要喺呢個位講呢種勇氣咧？係計時器嚟嘅 ，Clepsydra。同啲沙漏個玩法係差唔多，兩個喺度轉嚟轉去。 實際係計時器嚟嘅呢個。
While some citizens only participated in the sessions of the Ecclesia, others could become more involved in democracy as magistrates. Magistrates were elected from among Athenian citizens over 30. They were often successful orators and charismatic politicians, and they held much more sway over important decisions than the average citizen. One of the most famous magistrates was Pericles, who was so popular, he held his position for 15 years.
OK， 即係其實同市民個階級係差唔多嘅應該。冇人知幾時畫，總之就係個畫家死之前畫。OK， 原來 Clear 係平民出身。啲碎片用嚟做咩？ 流放10年都叫暫時，流放10年唔叫暫時啊嘛！呢個雅典人走去其他城市都幾慘下，雅典同咁多城邦有仇。啲花係會喐嘅，踩上去之後，我應該唔會死嘅，俾火燒。係直頭唔會燒着。
In theory, every Athenian citizen over the age of 20 had the right to participate in the assembly. However, some of them lived far from the city, and others could not financially afford to miss a day of work to attend meetings. For these reasons, the city introduced a special allowance called a misthos ecclesiasticos in the 4th century BCE, meant to encourage participation. Originally, it was 2 obols, but the politician Cleon raised it to 3.
Το άδικον εστίν.
都同而家民主個情況差唔多，其實都唔係人人想參與呢個決策嘅環節。貓頭鷹係咪真係雅典嘅象徵嚟？都係用啲戲劇嚟敘事。大佬佢幾個鐘聽人講嘢。現代可唔可以咁做？可唔可以去投票收錢？現代得投票啫，冇其他方法嘅。 即係好似啲大學社團或者學會咁樣嘅啫，成個雅典嘅運作模式。咁啊，將軍呢啲職位唔係俾啲專門嘅人士去做嘅，咁奇怪。Pericles 都係將軍，識唔識打仗？好似冇聽過佢打仗。Cleon 就有打過仗。Cleon 打過嗰場敗仗，最出名嗰次。
Athens introduced several innovations that heavily influence modern society, including theater, architecture, and philosophy. However, their greatest contribution was their democratic government, which introduced the concept of a city ruled by its citizens. The decision to adopt democracy as a government, a choice made in 508 BCE, shaped civilization as we know it, and continues to affect us today.
其實民主體系真係得雅典同埋近代先有嘅，中間從來未有過。呢兩個係咩人嚟嘅？
Hello again, Wanderer. I trust you appreciated learning about the inner workings of the city. Is there anything else you'd like to do? Then let's start with a simple question. Approximately how many citizens were in Athens in my time? Yes, there were approximately 30,000 citizens in Athens, although the population as a whole was much larger. On to the second question. Who of the following was a famous Athenian magistrate? Yes, Pericles was an extremely popular magistrate who managed to keep his position for 15 years. Only one question left. What does the word Pnyx mean?
Pericles 係你老公嚟。
Correct. The Pnyx was usually crowded with citizens attending meetings of the Ecclesia. You know enough about democracy to be a politician yourself. Well done, Wanderer. It would be my pleasure to take you to your next destination. Follow me.
咩地方嚟嘅呢度？哦，呢個地方係喺遊戲入面幾乎冇去過嘅，我哋特登跑咗一次。